The Pig family may look like a sweet and perfect family at first glance, but what if we told you they're hiding the fact that Peppa has, or had, a twin sister? You might think this sounds way too absurd, but when it comes to pigs, having twin siblings is completely natural. In real-life biology, a pig's pregnancy almost never results in just one baby, but several. Several indeed. It's usually around 10 to 14 piglets per litter, so technically, Peppa should have several twin siblings. Of course, pigs might not work exactly like that in the world of Peppa Pig, especially since they also share a lot of human traits, but that isn't enough reason to ignore this possibility completely. The pigs still love jumping in muddy puddles just like real pigs do. The rabbit family lives in burrows, same as real rabbits, and some members of the wolf family clearly seem a little too eager to taste a juicy piglet, and so on. If the characters in the show have so many traits that match their real-life species, then why would the number of babies per pregnancy be any different? Maybe it's simply toned down a bit, with the pigs in Peppa's world usually having around 2 or 3 babies at a time. But if that is the case, then the star of the show should have at least one twin sister. The fact that this character never appeared might mean she suffered a very cruel fate. Ready to uncover the hidden truth you never knew about Peppa Pig's twin sister? Get comfy and come with us, because another Cinewave is about to start. Deceased. Many fans believe that Peppa's twin doesn't exist, but did exist because she may have lost her life a long time ago. There are several possible reasons: an illness, an accident, a complicated birth that ended in tragedy. What matters is that this event was extremely traumatic, to the point where Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig chose to hide the existence of that child from their kids because they can't stand remembering it. Instead of dealing with their grief, they simply decided to pretend Peppa's sister never existed. Peppa probably doesn't even remember this sister, since the tragedy must have happened when they were both babies. However, she might have a few vague memories and feel that something is wrong, without knowing whether these sensations are real or just inventions of her mind. Imagine being in Peppa's situation, feeling like something is missing in your life, but having no idea what it is. There's a very high chance she would develop personality issues as she gets older because of this. Luckily for her, she never actually grows up, but if the show ever decides to age the characters, you can bet Peppa's teenage years would be extremely complicated. Strange image. Something often mentioned in discussions about Peppa's twin is an old promotional poster, because it's the biggest proof that this mysterious twin truly exists. In the image, we see the Pig family standing in front of their house as if they're posing for a family photo. And it would be a very cute photo if it weren't for the piglet identical to Peppa standing behind a window inside the house watching the pigs. That one cannot be the main character, but she looks exactly like Peppa. So who could she be? The answer? Her twin sister. Who knows, maybe this is a visual representation of the Pig family's grief? Even though her parents pretend the twin never existed, their sadness doesn't go away. In fact, it only grows stronger. It's almost as if the little girl haunts their memories. And that's exactly what the presence of the twin in this image might symbolize. Before you say it's just a mistake, let's make one thing clear. The reason why the poster has 2 Peppas has never been explained. If it were a simple editing error, someone on the production or marketing team would have addressed it after all these years. But everyone chose to stay silent and let the twin sister theory spread. Looking at it this way, it really seems like the creators always intended Peppa to have a deceased sister and asked for the poster to include a tiny hint of that. Of course, they can't confirm this theory because it would be too dark for a kids show, but the fact that they've never denied it says a lot. If you also believe Peppa might have a secret sister, comment below. #twin. Daddy Pig. Not every clue is loud and obvious. Sometimes the secret hides in the little details. The way Daddy Pig treats Peppa and how he reacts to her behavior is a perfect example. Unlike most parents, he doesn't command much respect from his kids, especially from the little piglet. She often makes jokes about his intelligence, since the poor guy does a few silly things every now and then, even though he works as an engineer, a job that requires a lot of brain power. Seriously, it's hard to even count how many times Peppa has called her own father silly daddy. Worse than that are the jokes she makes about his weight. Yes, Daddy Pig is chubby, but Peppa makes sure to tease him about it all the time. Very few parents would accept that kind of attitude, and many fans have always wondered why Daddy Pig puts up with this behavior from his own daughter. The answer might be the trauma from what happened to his deceased daughter. The poor little girl looked exactly like Peppa, so looking at his living daughter is the same as looking at the one who passed away. It's completely understandable to be traumatized by that, but the effects of the tragedy are getting worse and affecting Daddy Pig's relationship with Peppa. This only shows how he never managed to process his grief. Multiple siblings. If we stop to think about it, if Mummy Pig actually had babies the same way a real pig does, Peppa wouldn't be the only one with a twin sister, right? George and Evie would also have at least one twin each. But that's another thing we never see in the show. This opens up two more possibilities for the theory. The first is that Mummy Pig might have some kind of fertility problem that causes complications during childbirth, which inevitably leads to some of the babies passing away during the process, leaving only one in the end. A horrible thing to imagine, right?
But get ready, because the second possibility is even worse. If Mummy Pig has 2 or more babies in a pregnancy and always ends up with only one left, it could mean someone is taking their lives on purpose for some bizarre reason. If that were ever confirmed, Peppa's show would turn into a full-on horror story. Who do you think could be responsible for doing something so awful? Well, Mr. Wolf definitely looks like someone who'd love devouring little pigs, so maybe he's behind all of it. Or could it be Miss Rabbit, since many believe she's secretly evil? Lies. Some people who don't believe in this theory use a flashback scene as an argument, because this scene shows Peppa when she was very little, and in that moment, she's not with her twin sister at all, only with Susie. Yep, those two have been friends since forever. But it's important to consider a few things when we talk about this flashback. First, there's a very high chance the twin may have passed away during Mummy Pig's labor, so she wouldn't be there anyway. You can't really ignore something like that. Second, even if the twin lived a short time before losing her life, this flashback is simply the version of the past that Mummy Pig chose to describe, not the absolute truth. She can change her story however she wants, and Peppa will believe it, since she was far too young to remember things clearly. Are Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig running so far from their past that they've erased their deceased daughter from their memories? They may think that if they repeat the same lie enough times, the illusion will eventually start to feel like the truth inside their own minds. Don't forget, subscribing is the easiest way to make sure you never miss any of our videos. Kidnapped. We've talked a lot about the theory that Peppa's twin sister ended up passing away, but many fans believe the poor girl is actually alive, just far away from the family for some unknown reason. Think about it. What if she had been kidnapped when she was still a baby? Unfortunately, that's something that really happens in the real world. Peppa Pig tries to hide these darker parts of life simply because it's a children's show told from a child's point of view. It's not that this world is perfect. Peppa just doesn't know the sad side of life. After being kidnapped, many different things could have happened to Peppa's twin. Being as optimistic as possible, she may have been taken by a family who wanted a daughter but couldn't have one for some reason. In that case, the girl is growing up in some other home without the slightest idea that she was stolen from her biological family. Do you think that's possible? It would actually be pretty interesting, because this storyline could be explored in future episodes of the show, with Peppa discovering her twin sister exists and eventually finding her. It would be an amazing addition to the series and also a very emotional story. And honestly, if there's anyone who could have kidnapped her, that someone is Mr. Fox. We've already talked in other videos about how there are several clues that he's a thief. One of them being a scene where he shows up snooping around Grandpa Pig's chicken coop late at night, as if he's about to steal the chickens. Curiously, in another episode, we see that one of the many items Mr. Fox sells is chickens. If he steals chickens to sell them, why wouldn't he do the same with baby pigs? Another interpretation is that the disappearance of the twin wasn't caused by a kidnapping at all, but by a real accident that led her to be separated from her family. We know the pigs love traveling every now and then, sometimes even to other countries. But what if one of those trips caused the little girl to get lost and never find her parents again? Maybe it was even her parents' fault, leaving without realizing she wasn't with them. That could be why both of them became so traumatized, to the point of pretending none of it ever happened. The guilt was so overwhelming that they simply couldn't bear it, creating this fantasy in which all their children are still there. The episodes where the family travels to Italy may even be hinting at this event. In those episodes, Peppa often loses her teddy bear, Teddy, in several places across Italy, but thankfully, Teddy is always found by a police officer who returns the toy to her. It's almost like a symbolic retelling of what happened to Peppa's twin, only with a happy ending. Does that mean the little girl got lost in Italy years ago? Who knows? Maybe Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig even tried to look for her between one episode and the next. Enjoying it? Then click one of the 2 videos we left on the screen and keep going with us. See you next time!